Hey guys, Revenge here from Immortals, and I'm here bringing you guys a patch rundown brought to you by Nitto. This is going to be patch 12.12, and honestly, there were some pretty decent changes on here that are going to affect pro play, even just more casual play, and I'll go into all the changes and kind of walk you guys through which ones are going to be more impactful for pro play and which ones are just kind of not going to do that much. Let's get into it. Amumu. So Q mana cost went down and our damage went up. Honestly, Amumu has always been one of the more niche support picks in a lot of bot matchups. I think a lot of the more aggressive bot matchups he can punish. I think this is going to be more for support rather than jungle because the mana cost went down for Q by 40 rank 1, which is really important for laning more so than like jungling, for example. So wouldn't be surprised if he appeared maybe even in pro play for some bot matchups. Annie with the Q AP ratio increase, MR increase. I'm not really sure this will do too much for pro play. I think this is going to be more for like solo queue and I guess durability on the ulti and just breathing room, I guess. So I think Annie's kind of a niche champion right now in the meta. Belveth. This is kind of a big change. Even so, it's kind of a nerf. Like damage ratios on her E went down and on her ulti. This auto attack range increase is actually really important because the champion is so auto based and melee. This is a really big buff for her, but everything else is kind of a nerf. Would not be surprised if Bel'Veth comes out on pro play pretty soon. Blitzcrank. Not too sure how much these changes are going to make Blitzcrank come back to the meta. I think a lot of other supports are a lot stronger right now. Although this is like kind of significant for early game damage, but I think this is going to be more for just like solo queue and one tricks, I guess, but yeah, I think this won't affect pro play too much. Mundo Nerfs. Mundo's not really a champion that's been popular in pro play that much, kind of niche as well. I think this is also just kind of a nerf for maybe some of the lower elo rank games. Maybe Mundo's kind of been taking over a bit. Fiora nerf. I think this is a pretty small nerf. I think Fiora's been really dominant in pro play lately. I think that this nerf will just kind of hurt her a bit more on the late game side of things, but isn't really going to make a big difference. Hymer Buffs. This is kind of huge. They actually increased his turret health, which makes it so that you cannot kill them so easily in lane. And that makes it so that Hymer's actually going to be able to survive in lane phase a lot easier because his turrets are going to be up longer. And that's pretty scary because a lot of bot laners can't really deal with Hymer that well in lane. So it kind of changes the meta a lot. So these driven buffs are actually pretty interesting because I think these buffs are actually more geared towards his laning. Lane driven always comes into meta randomly, and I think this is definitely one of those buffs that's going to make him pretty strong for laning if the meta ever shifts into certain matchups that he excels at. So these Lucian nerfs are pretty important because Lucian's been pretty dominant in bot lane. Taking down his base AD and even nerfing some of the damage on his Q is actually pretty big. Yeah, whenever a champion's just dominating meta so much in pro play, even the smallest of nerfs can make a huge difference because a lot of the things that Riot targets in some of these nerfs are actually things that make them valuable for pro play, and this is definitely that. Viego nerfs. Yeah, this champion's been around for a while lately. Pretty much since MSI, even before MSI, Viego has been really dominant, and I think the durability patch actually made him still just as effective because of a lot of the items he builds are actually useful against things that make people durable, like Kraken Slayer and Sunder. So this is actually pretty good to just kind of tone him down a bit because I think he's been way too dominant lately. Yuumi nerfs. Yumi's actually been really dominant in pro play lately. She's actually been first pick in some EU LEC games, and I think that this is also a nerf in the right direction to kind of tone her down, lowering her healing, even actually it's like a compensation buff, right? I think they buffed her shielding late game, nerfed her early game, nerfed her healing, so you know, just toning her down. Zeri nerfs. Yeah, these aren't really big nerfs, I would say, but Zeri's also still, just like Lucian, been really dominant, so some of these nerfs are kind of hitting her early game things and even late game scaling things that made her just way too dominant. Night Harvester changes. These are just some item changes that we'll go through. I think this is actually pretty good because Night Harvester was giving a lot of CDR, but with no CDR in its build, so it's kind of awkward. So ever since the durability changes, I think the top lane meta has been a lot more geared toward weak siding and kind of scaling and team fighting champions. I think that the meta in general right now is really bot centric. So I think that the top meta is actually there to enable that right now, however that may be. You know, certain champions, certain carry champions like Gwen, even Fiora are good when the comps that you're playing against allow it to be. But at the end of the day, the bot lane needs to be the biggest focus, in my opinion, in this meta to succeed. I will say that this patch, 12.12, didn't really affect much of that. I think that the meta is still pretty much the same, especially for top lane. I'm curious to see what Riot will do in the future, if they will change things around for top lane, make it more carry centric again, or maybe kind of shift way in the opposite direction where it's just completely tank centric. But yeah, I mean, who knows what they'll do. This video was brought to you guys by Nitto. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys will stick around for the next ones to come. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as well. Have a good one.